Ever pondered why financial disparities exist among different racial groups in America? You're not alone. Many of us are left scratching our heads, wondering how such a prosperous nation can still be grappling with such deeply entrenched economic divides. To understand this, we must journey back in time and uncover the hidden roots of financial discrimination. Let's start from the beginning. During the era of slavery, Black Americans were considered property rather than individuals with rights. This dehumanization extended to the economic realm, where they were denied any form of financial autonomy. The shackles of slavery may have been physically removed, but the economic chains remained, creating a systemic and institutionalized form of financial discrimination. This discrimination was not a mere byproduct of a bygone era. It was meticulously engineered into the very fabric of America's financial institutions. From housing policies to lending practices, these institutions erected invisible barriers that blocked Black Americans from accessing the same economic opportunities as their white counterparts. Imagine trying to build a house on a foundation of sand. That's what it was like for Black communities trying to achieve economic progress on the shaky grounds of financial discrimination. A home is often the most significant financial asset a person has. But discriminatory housing policies often meant that Black Americans were denied this crucial step towards wealth accumulation. Similarly, discriminatory lending practices meant that Black businesses were often starved of the necessary capital to grow and thrive. This not only limited the growth of Black-owned businesses, but also reduced job opportunities within Black communities, further exacerbating the economic disparities. So you see, the financial disparities we witness today are not random occurrences. They are the legacy of centuries of systemic and institutionalized discrimination that have denied Black Americans a fair shot at economic prosperity. Understanding the roots of financial discrimination is the first step to dismantling it. And as we continue this discussion, we will uncover more about the struggle for financial freedom, modern-day financial discrimination, and how you can protect yourself from falling victim to it. Stay tuned, because knowledge is power, and together we can break down these unseen barriers. How did the fight for financial equality unfold in the history of Black America? Let's turn the clock back to the heart of the Civil Rights era, a time of significant social and political upheaval. It was a time when Black Americans, tired of being on the economic sidelines, began to demand their rightful place in the financial field. This struggle was not an easy one. It was a fight against deeply entrenched systems of discrimination that had been in place for centuries. But fueled by the spirit of resilience and a burning desire for equality, Black Americans persevered. In the midst of this struggle, some significant legislative milestones were reached. The Fair Housing Act, passed in 1968, was one such landmark. It was designed to protect people from discrimination when they are renting, buying, or securing financing for any housing. The federal law explicitly prohibited discrimination on the basis of race, color, national origin, religion, sex, familial status, and disability. Yet the Fair Housing Act was only a starting point. The fight for financial freedom required more comprehensive legislation. Enter the Equal Credit Opportunity Act of 1974. This law was a game changer. It prohibited credit discrimination on the basis of race, color, religion, national origin, sex, marital status, age, or because someone receives public assistance. These laws were monumental, altering the financial landscape for Black Americans. They provided legal protection against the discriminatory practices that had previously been commonplace. But were they enough to level the financial playing field? Unfortunately, the answer is no. While these laws were significant, they were not the silver bullet solution to financial discrimination. Their enforcement was often lax, and loopholes allowed for continued discrimination in more subtle forms. Moreover, these laws did not address the economic disparities that had accumulated over centuries of discrimination. So, despite these legislative milestones, the battle for financial equality was far from over. It was clear that the struggle for financial freedom was not just about enacting laws. It was about changing attitudes, breaking down stereotypes, and dismantling the systemic barriers that keep Black Americans from achieving true financial freedom. Fast forward to the 21st century, has financial discrimination ceased to exist? It's a question that might linger in your mind, especially considering the leaps and bounds we've made in the fight for equality. But alas, as we delve into the world of finance, we find that this age-old issue still persists, albeit in a more subtle and insidious manner. Take a look at the lending practices of several financial institutions. You see, on the surface, it might appear that everyone is offered an equal chance, but dig a little deeper and you'll find a different story. Recent studies have shed light on a disturbing trend: discriminatory lending. This practice sees Black Americans disproportionately receiving higher interest rates on loans, or worse, being denied loans altogether. This isn't about credit scores or financial history, but rather an entrenched bias that continues to perpetuate the cycle of financial disparity. Then there's the racial wealth gap, a glaring testament to the economic inequality that plagues our society. The average wealth of a white family is roughly 10 times that of a black family. This isn't a coincidence, nor is it a result of individual failures. It's a systemic issue that traces its roots back to decades of discriminatory financial practices. In the job market, the story is no different. Black Americans continue to earn less than their white counterparts, even when they have the same qualifications. This wage gap further fuels the wealth disparity, making it difficult for black families to accumulate wealth and break free from the cycle of financial discrimination. To think that this is happening in the 21st century in a world that prides itself on progress and equality is not just disheartening, it's unacceptable. So has financial discrimination ceased to exist? The unfortunate answer is a resounding no. Modern financial discrimination might not be as overt as it once was, but it's just as harmful, if not more so. While the forms of financial discrimination have changed over time, its effects remain deeply entrenched, and it's high time we brought about a change. So, how can you safeguard yourself from becoming a victim of financial discrimination? First, arm yourself with knowledge. The more you understand about financial products and services, the better equipped you'll be to identify potentially discriminatory practices. This includes everything from understanding how interest rates work to knowing what constitutes a fair loan agreement. There are a plethora of resources available online and at your local library to help you build your financial literacy. Secondly, be proactive in seeking out financial institutions that have a demonstrated commitment to fairness and inclusivity. Look for banks and credit unions that have strong anti-discrimination policies and a history of serving diverse communities. Don't be afraid to ask direct questions about their practices. Thirdly, ensure you know your rights. The Equal Credit Opportunity Act, for example, prohibits discrimination in any aspect of a credit transaction. If you believe you've been discriminated against, you have the right to file a complaint with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. It's important to document any instances of perceived discrimination, including the dates, times, and details of the incidents, as well as the names of those involved. Fourthly, consider seeking advice from a financial advisor. These professionals can provide guidance on navigating the financial landscape and can help you make informed decisions. Financial advisors can also act as advocates, helping to challenge any discriminatory practices you may encounter. Lastly, remember that you are not alone. There are numerous organizations that provide support and advocacy for individuals who have experienced financial discrimination. Reach out to these groups for help, advice, and solidarity. Discrimination in any form is unjust and unacceptable. By arming yourself with knowledge, standing up for your rights, and seeking support when needed, you can help to challenge and change discriminatory practices in the financial sector. Empowerment begins with knowledge and vigilance. What does the future hold for financial equality in America? That's a question many are asking, and the answer lies not only in the halls of power, but in the actions of everyday individuals like you and me. The fight against financial discrimination is far from over. There are ongoing efforts on various fronts to address this long-standing issue, from policy proposals in government to grassroots initiatives in communities nationwide. At the governmental level, there are proposals being considered that aim to enforce stricter regulations on financial institutions. These regulations would make it more difficult for these institutions to discriminate against individuals based on race. There's also a push for greater transparency in lending practices, which would make it easier to identify and address discriminatory behavior. But it's not just about laws and regulations. It's about changing attitudes and breaking down barriers. Grassroots initiatives are playing a crucial role in this. Groups across the country are working tirelessly to educate people about financial discrimination, to provide resources and support to those affected, and to advocate for systemic change. And what can you do? Well, you can get involved. Participate in these initiatives, lend your voice to the conversation, educate yourself and others about the realities of financial discrimination and the ways to fight it. Moreover, support businesses that are committed to financial equality. Choose to bank with institutions that have shown a commitment to fair lending practices, and remember, every dollar you spend is a vote for the kind of world you want to live in. The path forward is not an easy one. It's a path that requires determination, resilience, and collective action, but it's a path that leads to a future where financial discrimination is a thing of the past, a future where everyone has an equal opportunity to achieve financial stability and success. So let's walk this path together. Let's challenge the status quo. Let's demand change. Because together we can forge a future where financial equality is a reality for all. Please like, subscribe, and share this video. Your engagement helps raise awareness about financial discrimination. Your subscription aids in educating, enlightening, and empowering the masses about this issue. Together we can build a financially equal future.